Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Just want to do a very quick update on overnight developments from the computer models. Now you remember in yesterday's weekend forecast there was the UK Met Office model which did prolong the cold weather really and kept it cold up to the weekend. I gave out about a 20% chance of coming off, I said, but it is a possibility that it could come off. But really, I was going with the GFS and other models which had the idea that we push the Atlantic through very quickly on Thursday and it quickly turns mild and unsettled. Well, overnight there have been some developments with this, and we're going to start off with the GFS because this perhaps is the model that shifted the most overnight. With got this low pressure in the Atlantic. This was the low pressure that was being predicted by the GFS itself to push through very quickly on Thursday. Well, here we are at midnight on Friday, and the low pressure is stalling in the Atlantic. The trough is actually digging southwards there, going down towards the south of Ireland. So a real struggle is going on, a real battle here is taking place to get this low pressure into the cold air. We've got the wedge of cold air sitting over the British Isles. The low pressure is trying to come into it and it's having a real job to push through. Now if we go on 24 hours, we can see that by Saturday, midnight on Saturday, that low pressure has still not made it through, and actually it's digging well to the southwest of the country, really starting to dig down in towards France. All the time we're putting in this cold southeasterly wind excuse me, putting in this cold southeasterly wind ahead of this low pressure off the very cold continental land mass. So this is suggesting that this low pressure is pushing into that cold air is giving us an increased risk of snow. And you remember that by yesterday, by this point, by Saturday, we was well on into westerly wind. A real strong westerly had established. The mild air had pushed across all parts of the country. So by midnight on Saturday, the precipitation forecast from the GFS is showing that the rain is still down here to the far southwest across the Southern Island and southwestern parts of England. It's only as we move on further in towards Saturday that low pressure starts to push northwards, but even then it's having a real battle coming up against that cold air, and the suggestion there is certainly that we would be likely to be seeing some sort of snow event across excuse me, parts of the country. The UK Met Office is very similar. Of course, this was the model that was going with this idea yesterday. It looked very isolated with this, but it's still going with it this morning. And again, we have the low pressure in the Atlantic coming up against that cold air, really starting to dig in here and slide to the southwest of the country. And by the time we go on 24 hours to midnight on Saturday, that low pressure is still having a real struggle to get in across the country. Again, this is probably bringing snow, probably from Wales and the Midlands northwards, more likely to be rain in the south. But certainly this is much more of a fight now that's starting to take place than it looked like we were going to see yesterday. Now if we move through to the ECMWF, this is still more or less going with the idea that it had yesterday, although not quite as quickly. So we've got the low pressure in the Atlantic on midnight on Friday, pushing up against that colder air, and then it's moved through 24 hours. It moves through very quickly actually, this on the ECM this morning. So by midnight on Saturday the cold air is really confined to Scotland, and most of us have turned mild through the course of Friday. So ECM is still more or less with the first idea, although it's a little bit delayed, but only by a few hours. And the Canadian GEM, again, this is very similar, pushing the Atlantic through. This pushes through even more quickly, actually. So the idea from yesterday still hasn't gone. Some of the models are still going with this idea. But certainly the GFS and the UK Met Office have sort of gone back towards the idea that the UK Met Office had yesterday morning, which was a much slower, more of a battle type really event taking place at the end of the week into the weekend. So split in the model this morning, but we've gone a little bit towards maintaining the cold weather. Obviously I'm going to keep you updated on it. I don't know what's going to happen with this. It could well be that the cold models this morning are just whistling in the dark really, and we're going to go back to the Atlantic pushing through very quickly. Or it could be that this is the start of a backtrack, and the cold air weather will hang on. Cold air, once it's established, it's always or nearly always harder to get rid of than the moles think it is going to be, especially when it's delivered by a big blocking area of high pressure. So we're just going to have to wait and see and be patient and see what happens. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.